I was having a little flick around on AliExpress the other day, and I was really quite surprised to see that this Sea-Gull watch is the biggest selling watch through the Sea-Gull official store on AliExpress. So I couldn't resist the temptation to get it in to try to understand why. So here is the watch in question, and if you head over to the Sea-Gull official store and view all of their products and then list them in order of popularity, this will be top of the pile, having sold 213 units. Okay, it's not a massive number, but still, I really wasn't expecting this watch to be their best-selling watch. Yeah, maybe you can help me out, guys. Let me know in the comments section why you think this is their most popular watch throughout the course of this video. I'm going to be trying to answer that question myself. And you need to be a little bit careful because there are two very similar looking watches on the official store. One has a model number ending in 2. The other one has a model number ending in 4. I'll make sure I label those or link those to my video description very, very clearly. The main difference between those two watches, or the only difference I can see, is just some of the details on the dial. They are basically the same watch. But yeah, anyway, here it is. Let's get into it. Maybe the price is one of the reasons why this watch has proven to be so popular. It's currently 111 US dollars. That's 95 pounds or 108 euros. And I suspect during the next big AliExpress sale, which starts on the 12th of June, it will be even cheaper. That is a very appealing price, I have to say, for a watch with pretty good specifications. I'll run through the specifications in a moment, but yeah. Those prices are very, very competitive, especially when you consider this is a Sea-Gull watch. And generally, you can't pick up a Sea-Gull automatic watch for less than $200. And some of their watches are unbelievably expensive. They are a well-reputed and well-respected brand. They're not really an AliExpress brand. So yeah, $111 for this watch. That does seem to represent fantastic value for money. Maybe it's the way it looks. I'm not completely convinced by the way it looks. I'm not really offended by it. It's a sort of nice looking watch. It's got an open heart complication at the 6 o'clock and a couple of subdials, which are day, date subdials. It looks a little bit like a chronograph, but it isn't. It's more of a calendar watch. It's a bit larger than I would have hoped, perhaps, but yeah, I'm not finding the way it looks to be offensive. I'm not wild about how it looks, but clearly quite a few people like the way it looks enough to part with $111 for it. So yeah, I don't think the way it looks is the reason it's selling so well. But it's certainly not putting off too many people. So I think so far we've established that perhaps the price is more appealing than how the watch looks, but I think also the specifications are quite appealing. The materials used are, I guess, better than you would expect. Sapphire crystal in the front, a genuine leather strap, stainless steel case and hardware on the strap. You've got mineral crystal in the back, but yeah, stainless steel case, and it is a screw down case, pull push crown, 50 meters of water resistance, and actually it's not a bad looking movement. It's been decorated quite nicely. You've got a signed rotor, and with it being an open heart movement, look, you can see straight through the watch through to the other side. So yeah, actually it was a good decision to put a display case back on this watch, I think. And there's a lot going on with this movement as well. It's an ST2502 automatic hand wind hacking movement, open heart as you can see, and yeah, day date complications on the dial. You've got a quick set date function here, so you can press this button with a toothpick. I wouldn't use anything metal, but yeah, you can basically move the date complication forward after a month with 30 days or 28 or 29 days, so that the following month you get the accurate date. What about the build quality and the finishing of this steel and the dial? Let's zoom in and have a look at that, shall we? Well, I can tell you I've taken a really good look at this watch. I've taken a lot of pictures and footage with a macro lens, and honestly, I really am very pleasantly surprised. I did mention in a video recently that Sea-Gull or affordable Sea-Gull watches do seem to be very nicely made and on par with some of their more expensive watches. So it doesn't seem to me like they compromise on build quality when it comes to their more affordable watches. And I think this watch confirms that. I've zoomed right into the dial and the hands, and those subdials, and it seems to be beautifully made, and the steel finishing is really, really nice. I'm not seeing any imperfections on this watch that would make me think, oh, it's a cheap watch. It's been finished very, very nicely. Okay, the leather strap isn't fantastic. We never expect these affordable watches from AliExpress to come on really good quality leather straps, but there's nothing about it really that's that offensive. It's quite stiff, so you'll need to sort of mess around with it and manipulate it and try and soften it up a little bit manually, I think, before you wear it for any extended period of time. But the hardware seems nice enough. It's steel and it's signed. Yeah, and it sort of suits the watch, doesn't it? Yeah, the finishing and the build quality is really good, actually, really good. And there is quite a lot going on with this dial. You've got quite a lot of print on the outside of the dial, a sort of brushed surface, and then you've got a very textured inner circle which houses the subdials and most of that open heart complication, and the open heart complication seems to have been done nicely as well. It all lines up nicely, the print's nicely done. I'm not seeing any dust or debris under the crystal or on the dial. I'm not a massive fan of the hands. I think they're painted. They're certainly not blued through that thermal process, but really, were you expecting that for $111? I don't think so. I mean, everything seems to match, doesn't it? The detail on the dial, you've got this sort of reverse concave bezel. The case is fully polished, and you've got some detail, some steps on each of the lugs. So yeah, it's quite a sort of decorative case. It matches the dial, and I guess it matches the hardware on the strap as well. So yeah, it all ties in very, very nicely. I think the only weakness I've been able to identify thus far is, well, just the way it looks, I guess. Now, I think the dimensions might hold it back a little bit, actually, because I was expecting, or hoping I should say, that this watch would be a touch smaller than it is, 42mm in diameter. It is obviously a very dressy watch. So it's a touch bigger than I think we were all expecting. For those of you with larger than average wrists, it's probably the perfect size. But for those people looking for a fairly small or average sized sort of flat watch that they could wear under a cuff, might be a touch bigger. In terms of thickness, I think it's 13mm. So again, perhaps a touch thicker than you were hoping. It's not oversized. It is just, I think, a little bit above average for this style of watch in terms of its size. What about lug to lug? Yeah, and the same goes for the lug to lug. Look, 48mm. Let's check out the weight as well. It is 85 grams. That's all right. That's not too bad, is it? So when we're all shopping for watches online, I think we all consider very similar things, if not the very same things, just perhaps in a slightly different order. Although there is one thing I think we all consider first when we're looking to buy watches online, and it's how the watch looks. If we don't like how it looks, we're not going to start researching anything else about that watch. We're just going to move on very, very quickly. But if you like the way it looks, you're going to start to look at things like branding and the movement, the specifications, perhaps the retail price, and then discounted prices. And if you're happy with all of that, you might end up buying the watch. But undoubtedly, the thing we look at first is the way the watch looks. And I think, had it not been for the fact that this was Sea-Gull's, or is Sea-Gull's most popular watch on the official store on AliExpress, I would have just skimmed straight past it. And I suspect most of you would skim straight past it as well. But if you like the way it looks and you're happy with the size and you can accept some of the weaknesses, I think you could potentially pick up one of the best value for money watches online. It's not the best value for money watch available to me online or on AliExpress because, well, I'm just not a fan of the way it looks. But yeah, if you do like the way it looks, it's unbelievable value, isn't it? $111 for this watch, less than £100. 108 euros and potentially even less in the upcoming sale. Yeah, incredible. Right, guys, let me know what you think of this watch in the comments section. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy my content. And if you don't enjoy my content, why not? Don't tell me. I actually don't want to know.